Welcome to H2O Live on LinkedIn today, 2 o'clock. The Water and Wastewater Show discussing all things water and waste. For those who have not been with us last time, we provide a platform for discussion all things water, all things waste. And today we have two guests. On my left, we have Steve Kemp. On my right, we have Jesse Fox. Hello. From Optima Energy Systems. As usual, audience participation is compulsory. So comment during the show and we will answer your questions. Today's topic is bill validation case studies. So I'd like to just talk about a couple of case studies here that we use for bill validation. And this isn't untypical of the kind of projects we get. On this particular instance, we've got a cost avoidance figure through bill validation of £591,000. Incidentally, I happen to know that this client spends about £2 million a year on water and waste over approximately 900 sites nationwide. Some of the things that are identified from the probably at least four of the water retailers we've got here. Rebills for £1,670. Emailed the key account manager several months ago. In comes another bill for the same amount, and then we get a credit and a rebill, these sorts of things. So essentially, these are items that are currently identified through a fairly manual basis and fairly labour intensive. But it just reinforces the point that these aren't Mickey Mouse figures. And I think on your website you said billing and errors on throughout the industry are 3 to 5%, Steve?
Yeah, typically 1 to 5 utility invoices are incorrect. Although I think it's probably worth pointing out that since deregulation, particularly certain water suppliers, water retailers, haven't got their act together, shall we say. And so it can be dependent, that's an average number, but clearly it can be dependent on which supplier or retailer you're actually contracted to.
Yeah. I know we're sort of talking about water now, but obviously you guys deal with energy as well. But just moving on here, we've got things like being billed twice, so the same amounts come up twice, and then balances carried forward. This particular number was £39,000. We've got overcharges of 37, 22, 1,600, 10,000. And that is across 9 months of doing bill validation for this particular customer. So we call this cost avoidance, which is different to water audits that H2O do, and we had that discussion before. Before we go on, I've been terribly rude. I haven't stuck to my own schedule that I wrote out on the way here. So, Steve, would you like to give the audience an insight into your career today and how long you've been in the industry?
Yeah, so I've worked 20 years in the energy industry. Sort of water experience has only really come about in the last couple of years, to be honest with you. Hence the reason why Jesse's with me. Jesse's steeped in water and the way that water is billed. My background originally was in renewable energy, and then for the last 4 or 5 years I've worked in energy consultancy before joining Optima Systems. So this is the first software business that I've worked for, but obviously very much related to the utility industry. Mm-hmm.
And Jesse?
Just over a decade in the utilities industry.
Yeah, I went on LinkedIn and checked you all out this afternoon. So
starting originally in brokering, moved through to more solution-based products, metering and CRC management, and then eventually onto the software side for the last 6 years and focusing on finding efficiencies with billing data.
All right. Yeah. So, fantastic. Right, so Steve, just can you give us a bit of history behind Optima?
Yeah, so I guess not everybody will have heard of Optima, but Optima's been in the energy software business for 30 years. And I have been saying recently we are probably one of the best kept secrets in the energy industry. Certainly our bill validation software is some of the best that's on the market, of that there is no doubt. And more recently, we have developed our water bill validation modules. So we've got 30 years of pedigree in developing software for the energy industry. And that pedigree is something that we're now leaning upon and making sure that the the wider world knows exactly what Optima's all about, which is why we're keen to talk about the issues that we see with Waterbill validation, and the fact that Optima now has the functionality to be able to validate not only potable water bills and wastewater, but also the effluent as well, trade effluent bills.
I just brought up another, messed around with my PC, I've just brought up another case now, £646,190 over the last 12 months. Bill validation again. I mean, some of the things that are coming through, I kid you not, if they went through to the customers, the payment people at these companies, they'd surely pay them. Yeah. And this is the scary part about it, really, isn't it?
It is, and it begs the question whether people are actually checking their bills. We suspect that a lot of people who believe they're having their water bills checked or think they are checking their water bills, quite frankly, aren't. And therefore they're not picking up on these kind of errors.
Well, we came across that when you came to see us a couple of weeks ago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And you're showing you some of the stuff we're working on, and quite frankly, I think you're dead right. That there's tens of thousands of businesses out there that think they're getting what they would term as a bill validation bureau service, and probably a deep dive water audit, which I think goes complementary. So, you provide the water audit platform, and then we can do the rest behind the scenes. So the cost avoidance is important to us, but then after that, we're looking for identifying other savings, which I think with our relationship with you guys, as it progresses, we can get more and more into things like, identifying areas that we would want to automate. So it's up to you guys then to improve your software around the market developments that we're anticipating. Because at the minute, I have to tell you, there's nothing really out there that's worth its weight, really. So we've continued doing our own, which is effective, and it's really, really good, and it produces good results, but doesn't give us the automated, the scalability that we're going to need next year, which is with the launch of the new switchwatersupply.com platform. We're going to have thousands of customers coming in and validating their bills. So we need to build a scalable system.
Sorry, Jesse.
Yeah, we're talking about language. That's being able to do that, being able to have a system that can siphon off what it knows are valid bills compared to all the credit and rebills that are coming through, like you mentioned earlier, that amount to thousands of pounds that can easily slip by and actually be paid, and you're making duplicate payments. By having a system in place that can catch those for your customers is fundamental in this industry.
I just when the market opened, we got more and more involved with larger companies, and they were sending through these consolidated bills. I don't know if you've seen them. Have we sent them across to you yet? I mean, they're an absolute nightmare.
Oh yes, yeah.
We're talking like we get the consolidated billing, and the bill validation people are going, right, so site one, okay, so 18 to 22 clicks to compile a bill from the spreadsheet. Mental. That's all I can say. Yeah. And we put up with it for best part of 3 years, and we don't want to go into it next year. So what we've had to do is, I don't know if you've seen our pictures on LinkedIn, where we've got piles of water bills coming in. The postman now more or less has one delivery, and it's barrows full of, and this is why we're getting more staff in to open letters. That's as simple as that. There must be a better way. So you get in the post and it's up here with bills. You think, we've only got like 400 sites or 50 sites for this customer, and a monthly billing, 50 bills, also, and then you get all the reminders and all the other stuff. So you could be dealing with, 2,000 envelopes for one 50-site customer in 1 year. It's completely unacceptable.
Oh, absolutely.
So there's some other advantages of using Optima software.
So again, going back to the foresight really of the developers at Optima, they had the foresight to see that deregulation was going to create issues. A lot of what we're seeing in the water industry since deregulation, there are an awful lot of parallels with what happened when gas and power was deregulated.
Well, you'll know about that because that's where you were born, wasn't it?
So this journey looks very familiar to us, and having that foresight has helped us get to where we got to today with the software. So as I said earlier about what we can validate, we are, as far as we're aware, the only software that's out there that truly validates water bills. But the other thing that's we have, which I believe is as good as you can currently get with current technology, is the way that we populate our Optima database. So we have what we call converters for the electronic bills, so the bills that you just described earlier. Any structured PDFs we can also populate almost as slickly now as EDI. And we also have the ability to develop OCR PDF readers for the paper bills side of things as well. So when you couple all that together, particularly with the issue of dealing with that volume of paper and that volume of data, the entry point into Optima is as slick as it's going to get in what we have today.
Something that's just crossed my mind there whilst we're talking, it might be nothing, but that with the new business, switchwatersupply.com, we're not only doing the water procurement, there's a whole wide range of high value added services within the platform, both for water retailers and customers. And one of the things is we've developed that we're building into the system is to take in AMR or water flow data logger data, billing data from automated meter readings. And what I've just thought there is there a possibility? I suppose there is. If we could, say for example, a client's got 130 sites and we've got all their stuff online on an AMR, and we can take in the readings, and we could potentially create a bill for the retailer.
Yeah.
Because if we got the charges and the tariffs and all the rest of the things, we could then have a template to feed those. I mean, I'm wondering if there's a way of you creating a bill for us.
So that is absolutely possible. The way that Optima ultimately works is that it creates a mirror image of the bill. So as long as you're feeding in the data that's required in order to compile that bill, then Optima can do that. So you could, and this is, we're kind of going off piece a little bit. The idea there would definitely work technically. So you could effectively create some kind of self-billing platform where you're effectively telling the retailer, this is what the bill looks like. That is all subject to me clarifying that with some of our dev guys. But
this isn't a decision made online.
So we've certainly not made the decision here, but technically that's how we would certainly glue the two platforms together. Absolutely.
Yeah. But also that ability then provides budget certainty, because you've effectively got the billing data 10 days, 2 weeks before you would normally get the fiscal invoices through. So that's already available on gas and electric. Customers do that. So that it's more than doable in water as well.
Right, I've got some other questions here that we put to us before we went on air, actually. So, question number 1. Is there not a distinction between water bill validation and deep dive analytics?
I think we've touched on that slightly, actually, whilst we were chatting. I believe the answer to that is absolutely yes. So another thing that gets confused in the industry is people who engage with consultancies that offer bill validation without sort of segmenting what that actually means. So I think that our audience and people listening to this should be clear that ultimately bill validation is a check that the bill is accurate. By that, what we mean is that all the charging bands and whatnot that make up that bill are correctly calculated. What we are not doing, and then no software can do this, is actually get behind the bill, which is where you guys offer the extended service, because what you're doing is you're checking that bill is actually mathematically correct. But you're also then going behind that and saying, well, is this surface water drainage charge correct? It possibly isn't, because there's a canal alongside the premises, and so you go into a much more deeper understanding of whether those charging back mechanisms are the appropriate ones.
Well, that's the future, though, isn't it? Because my head's buzzing with all sorts of ideas. Because we've only just hooked up over the last couple of weeks, to be fair, haven't we?
Yeah.
When you walked into my office and said, we do bill validation software. Okay then.
Yeah, I've heard this before.
That was a bit of an odd takeoff, wasn't it? It was sort of like you got a bit of grief from the girls downstairs, because I suppose they're not protectionists. They want a easy life. Well, not an easy life, but you know what I mean. They know what's coming, so we need to upscale it. So.
Yes, and that's sales ultimately, isn't it? I mean, everyone always looks at things with a degree of skepticism and healthy skepticism, and I think that you guys are steeped in the water industry, and to date have given us a good.
Some say too long,
but you've given us a good. You're looking at the system, and making sure that it does what it says, and. Equally, I understand that skepticism, because there are people out there who say that we validate water bills, And the reality is somewhat different, shall we say.
Wow. Yeah. Right, got some more. Surely it takes time to key water invoices into a system like Optima. Why not simply have it on a spreadsheet?
Well, ideally, especially when you're dealing with hundreds, if not thousands, of bills in consolidated files, is you don't want to have that labour-intensive time taken up going through bills which end up being valid. If you can have a system that that digitizes it and validates bills electronically, that means you actually have value for money in your users taking time to investigate bills which are flagged as invalid. So being able to load the bills digitally into a bill validation platform when they come through on either email or SFTP transfer, not having to sit there going through rows on a spreadsheet. Everything's in a
Sign me up, Jess.
Yeah, everything's in a display.
Where's the PO?
Exactly, yeah. And 1,000 bills go through, 900 of which are valid. You want to focus on the 100 which are invalid and get those checked out. So it's purely efficiency gains.
You mentioned actually about creating. So if we took in individual bills, masses of them, we could then create essentially a bill for the customer.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Well, we don't do that, to be clear today. But the way you described it earlier is that is technically possible.
Yeah.
I don't want to sort of go too far down a rabbit hole with this because we haven't got that functionality today. But certainly the way that you described it earlier and linking up and with your water switching platform, that is certainly technically possible. And we did go off piste a little bit, but you certainly whetted my appetite on that because whether I ultimately, because ultimately I think that would also resonate with the suppliers that are on the retailers that are on your platform because that self-billing model exists in the likes of Tesco and anybody that engages with those guys.
On the energy side? No,
in the retail side.
Right.
So you've described a model that's out there. We did sort of not have that bit scripted, but where that gets you to is it deals with a number of issues because you could see a solution there that will actually work for the retailer as well because you are negating their issues with raising correct bills.
Yeah. Right. Who keeps the published charges up to date?
Well, on our system, we do that. Because they're published charges. Yeah. So we can write them into the database and set them out as tariffs, depending how the supplier sets them out as tariffs. And then users can then go in, assign those tariffs to the relevant sites and accounts, and Bob's your uncle.
How does Optima report the data?
Yeah. So that's a really good question. I mean. Basically, we have bespoke reports that are set up within the Optima system. The standard fixed reports that we've created within Optima, I should say. But we also have our utility cloud system, which we call Visualize, and Visualize has the ability to present that data in cloud on the cloud. And is fully bespokeable. So kind of what sets it apart from other things that are out there, sort of dashboard type software, is that we give the client the ability to display that information in any way they wish.
All right.
Now, that was in response to us over the years receiving an awful lot of requests from our current clients that said, well, can you present our data like this? Can we see this data like that? And ultimately, organisations will always have those requirements and always display information in a different way because of the various different stakeholders that reside within those large organisations. So in response to that, we decided that rather than sit there and keep developing these reports, and we did monetize this, we actually said, well, this is crazy. This is not the slick way of doing it. The slick way of doing it is to give that power to the client. So when you say how we report, ultimately a combination of fixed reports within the Optima system and our bespoke reporting cloud-based system, Visualizer.
Another question here. Optima, does Optima perform any other services in relation to water? Which you do.
We do, yes. I guess that's one for you, Jesse, really.
Well, on top of the reporting, you can also perform budget exercises, forecast the next financial year, several financial years into the future, based on published charges if they're available, based on historic invoices. You can split your bills down so you can perform tenant billing, automate logger data, for example. So there's a host of other exercises that you can complete.
What do you do? Is there any type of reporting system that comes with this package?
Yeah. So as I said earlier, we use Visualizer largely. So if you buy our software, we do provide Visualizer. It's a separate software license.
I don't think we've had a chat about that before.
We haven't. No. If you recall, when I tried to demonstrate it initially, we had technical problems with the Wi-Fi signal.
Wakefield's not renowned for super fast broadband. We're in Leeds now.
Yeah, I understand from talking to your lovely wife that you're on the process of dealing with that.
Yeah,
so
I think we're still on dial-up. I've still got my Pipex account
still
stopped away somewhere.
Yeah.
Pipex.com.
So, but yeah, I mean, that's we host a number of webinars where we demonstrate that. Or we'll come along and show you how to use it.
Yeah,
it's pretty intuitive. Anybody that's used most of the sort of reporting software packages, Excel, conversing in that kind of software, will be able to use our Visualizer.
Because I've got budgeting and forecasting modules, automatic payment file generation, and Visualizer. That's a separate piece of software altogether, is it?
Well, automatic payment file generation is the ability to create payment journals. We do that straight out of the validation platform.
All right.
So, going back to the example of 1,000 bills, 900 are fine to pay. We can set clients up so that they can create payment journals that feed directly into their accounting systems, whether it's Sage, SAP, Oracle. They're all created within the Optima platform, straight over to the accounting system. Bills get paid. So no dealing with faffy spreadsheets that can end up getting edited and have user errors in them.
So when our bills come in, we just, I think, basically just scan them and then send them over to you, and then we get them back next day, and they're all tickety-boo.
Yeah,
That's the idea. Yeah.
That's the idea.
Blimey.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
I just seeing if we got any more questions on here, actually. We got any questions there on Josh? No questions. I can't believe it. Absolutely fantastic. Well, is there anything else you want to say? I've run out of questions. Look, they're all gone.
No, that's fine. I think hopefully the people listening to this have an appreciation at the very least of what bill validation means and the distinction between bill validation and deep dive analytics. I think that's really important.
You got to be honest with your customers, haven't you?
Yeah,
because you're dead right. That's that perception that perhaps they're using another consultancy, to a multi-utility consultancy or gas and power, and they're giving the impression. I don't think they're doing it on purpose. I think they're doing it because of lack of knowledge and expertise. I think that's what it is, because they don't realise all the technicalities within the water industry. And we've actually, quite frankly, been inundated over the past couple of months with probably about one or two a day energy management businesses calling us up and asking us if we'd look at some bills and carry out audits and bill validation and things like that. So hence, this is why we've sort of put a call into you guys to look at automating it, because if you're getting bills on a regular basis from 15, 20 energy brokers or energy consultants on a regular basis, then you're soon going to be in a situation where you can't cope. We want to deliver that service.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there is a distinct difference between the bill validation and the auditing. We sort of do it hand in hand. So the bill comes in. Once we start off, we populate it with all the old bills, and then as the bills come in, all the data gets input into a water database. So we separate out all the charges. Yeah. And then we check into each individual charges against tariffs and things like that, and then issue reports. And I think I mentioned it before on a couple of other podcasts. So we're now up to about £1.5 million worth of refunds across 196 properties.
Yeah. We can believe it. I mean, the clients that you know using Optima, we said see the data, so therefore we can see just how many.
Do we get the same in gas and power? I mean, I don't know anything about gas and power, but
yes, you do.
Really?
Yeah. Although, like Steve said,
that's a mature market, though. So
yeah. Well, like Steve said earlier, the water is probably a higher percentage of invalid bills just because of the deregulation.
Yeah.
But you still get errors in gas and the like.
Similarly, to what, meter readings or
meter readings, credit and rebills that are coming out, even down to fundamental suppliers taking on new systems or adopting systems when businesses join and the billing system's not talking to each other. So it's just fundamental things, really.
It's quite interesting because I think the market operators Mosul are looking at getting some projects in the new year, try and get to grip of this incorrect data in the marketplace.
Yeah.
I think there's a place for us there, definitely. We're seeing more and more interest. I'm going to encourage more water retailers to come to us and work with us in strategic partnerships to start looking at this data. I mean, if they sent us over, a couple of hundred clients worth of bills and just see what they got back, they'll be pleasantly surprised. There's a lot of charges there that they shouldn't be levying.
And we do actually do some quality control work, if you like, for some of the energy suppliers.
All right.
So some energy suppliers will use our software as a quality control.
How does that work then?
So they'll use our software to validate the bills that they're pumping out of their front end of their system.
See, I don't think there's any quality control in water. The bills go out and they're obviously not right.
It does feel, and what I'm about to say comes with the health warnings. I've not worked for a water retailer, so but it feels that there is something wrong with our operational. Certain retailers, I think some of them are pretty good. I think, but some one or two certainly need to get their act together. Quite frankly, but it just feels as though operationally they haven't fully glued all the various bits together, and probably one of the relatively quick fixes that they could do today would be to put some quality control measures at the back end of their processes.
I think one of the issues that the water retailers have got is when the market deregulated, a lot of the water retailers, the new water retailers, took on staff who have little or no knowledge about the water industry. Now that's plainly obvious. I suppose you could say, well, it is a criticism, it's a fact. And I kind of think maybe they should come and look themselves in the mirror and say, okay, we've got issues. Who can we work with to try and resolve these issues? And, we've got decades of experience as we all have sat around this table. Yeah. And nobody's talking. Well, there's 2 water retailers, 3, possibly 4 in the near future that we'll be working with. But come on, guys, we've got customers here. All right, it's a commercial opportunity for us, but at the end of the day, they're not sending the bills out as they should be.
Yeah.
And we'd like to think that we can be instrumental in helping to clean up the water industry and do our little bit, if you like. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, right, well, thanks very much, guys, for taking the time to come over. It was really, really fascinating chat. I'd like you to come over again, and perhaps we can get something a little bit more sophisticated and perhaps demonstrate how the software works.
Absolutely.
And perhaps in the new year. I'd like to wish you and all our viewers a happy Christmas, and we'll see you next year.
See you next year.
Cheers.
Thank you, Graham. Thanks for inviting us along.
Bye-bye.